In the final panels of Chapter 239, we have all seen the insane display of dominance. Rin had literally scored a hat-trick and completely destroyed Manshine City. But what on earth happened to Shidouryusei? Let's dive deeper into this matter. In the third selection, we got introduced to him, and he was ranked second among the Blue Lock players, just behind Itoshi Rin. The first time we've actually seen him play was in Chapter 98. In that chapter, we saw that Shidou was dashing for the ball. His reflexes to the loose ball are insane. From the start, he was already depicted as far from ordinary, and in front of the goal, he suddenly tapped the ball up and backheeled it into the goal. His football prowess is so extraordinary that it would be very weird for him not to have contributed much in PXG at all. And of course, in Chapter 99, Rin reacted to such a matter as he went up through passing the ball around with Hiyori. He traps the ball, but Otoya is in his way. Shidou tries to assert himself from the right side as Rin suddenly sees a line towards the goalkeeper through Otoya. So he used the three of them to create a blind spot and shot the ball in, bringing home the second goal for Team A. This shows that even though they couldn't create a chemical reaction like Ego Jinpachi wanted, with their rivalry, they could still bring the most out of each other's plays. Even though it's way different from the way Asagi plays with Itoshi Rin. I really wonder if Shidouryusei even got time on the field in that match. Maybe Loki has considered putting them in different matches due to their inability to play together. But that could be easily counteracted by the fact that Rin has scored in the match beforehand against Ubers. So from that, I can deduce that Loki has been playing Rin in every match PXG has had so far. But I think there's a different reason for these events. Notice this panel from Chapter 169 after Bastard Munchin's match against FC Barcha. We see Rin getting into his shooting motion, and we can also clearly see Shidou running behind him, so Loki at least hasn't been benching him. So how was Itoshi Rin able to score a hat-trick in that match without Shidou doing a thing? Well, if you look very closely, isn't there someone who is standing out a lot? That player whom Aiku is marking has his left leg in a position that would make it perfect for a pass. So what I suspect is that this guy is a midfielder who is the playmaker of the PXG team. And because he is siding with Rin, he is able to contribute way more than Shidou. You guys might think, well, that player could be anyone, so why is it specifically him? Well, if he isn't significant, I don't reckon that the author of Blue Lock would have bothered to put him on this panel where Rin shoots the ball, because otherwise, he would have just kept him out of the frame. And since the only ones on this panel are Shidouryusei, Itoshi Rin, and this other guy, the author could be giving us a hint, or rather foreshadowing that the guy is important. His design looks really dope as well, so he might be very strong and capable too. So through this, I don't think Shidou has been put out of the game at all. It's just that he hasn't been able to do much. I'll use this moment to quickly ask you guys that if you are liking my content so far and wish to support me, subscribe to the channel. Now back to the video. So, what's next for Shidou? For starters, Shidou really needs to make his stance inside of the PXG team since the team has been hijacked by Itoshi Rin in his quest to destroy Isagi Yoichi. One thing that could be likely is Loki showing Shidou through action that he was too overconfident and too cocky. Loki could have planned out to make Shidou's ego crush through making Rin the center of the team, which will lead Shidou to completely breaking down. This will make him contemplate everything that has happened so far in Blue Lock. He could very likely realize that the way he has been approaching things is fine, but that overconfidence and aggression he's showing inside and out of the pitch is all just delusion. Henri and Ego Jinpachi's conversation in Chapter 196 after Chris denied Yukimiya's shot perfectly explains what I think that Shidou is going through right now. Henri tells Jinpachi that if that had gone in, Yukimiya would have scored a super goal after beating 6 defenders just like that. But Ego tells Henri that for him to definitely score, he would have needed to juke the last 2 defenders as well, while also needing to win a 1-versus-1 against Chris Prince. So by the time the rest of the defensive line would have caught up, his scoring chances would have been pretty much 0 either way. Henri is in disbelief as Jinpachi told her that he's actually glad that Prince has blocked that shot. He tells her that if that shot had gone in, the after effects would have been disastrous in the long run, just like Nagi Seishiro's goal. He told Henri that it was a shitty fluke goal and that he felt a sense of uneasiness. Henri told him that a goal is a goal, reiterating Jinpachi on the fact that Blue Lock is created to bring birth to the world's #1 striker. So what's wrong here? So ego Jinpachi responds that it's impossible for him to replicate that goal ever again. Nagise Shiro's talents are off the charts, but even for him, that went a little too well. Because after all, attaining success above your talent level can have dangerous after effects, and the depths of his ego are about to be tested. But on the other hand, Yukimiya Kenyu's result was actually to be expected. Even if he did score, given his current ability, it would have been a fluke. So Jinpachi tells us that the reason Yukimiya Kenyu actually failed is that he thinks too highly of himself, which is the same category as I think that shidouryusei falls in. Henri told Jinpachi that it's part of a striker's job, right? Pretty much saying that it's only good to have a crazy ego. But Jinpachi told her that confidence and delusion are completely different things, and that what he just did was simply a play out of a deluded fantasy with him as the stupid hero. Success won't come to people who blind themselves with deluded fantasies. So after that, he tells her why Blue Lock has been a success so far. It was because of his fantasy of creating the world's #1 striker and Henri's fantasy of Japan winning the World Cup one day. And also, the Japanese football fans' fantasies of seeing their fantasies happen. And the fantasies of those unpolished gems on the field, too. All of those fantasies have crossed with each other to create the success that is called the Neo-Egoist League, together with the Blue Lock Project. Success only emerges at the point where your fantasy intersects with the fantasy of someone else. The reason why this conversation is so important for the developments of Shidou is because of two things. The first one is the fact that he has been too overconfident about his abilities, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be losing to Itoshi Rin, would he? And the second reason is, have you even seen Shidou crossing his fantasy with someone else? Well, the only person he did that with was Itoshi Sei, which ended up really well. But the start that forged that outcome is the fact that Itoshi Sei understood Shidou really well, so he was able to bring out the most in Shidou. But we all know that the synergy between Itoshi Rin and shidouryusei is absolutely horrible. So because their fantasies aren't crossing paths and his overconfidence, Shidou is losing to Itoshi Rin. His ego is way too fragile and has to be reforged. Just like Naruhaya said to Isagi at the end of the second selection, he has to be willing to sacrifice everything he was before to rebuild himself into a new person. Getting Shidou's ego destroyed and rebuilt is the only way to get that outcome. So what I think will eventually happen is that Shidou will realize and revise his approach in PXG's match against Bastard Munchin. When he faces Kunigami and sees what has become of him, he will realize that he has a similar problem within his team. He's this strong guy who is very capable, yet he has been cast in the shadows. The thing that is happening with Kunigami now is exactly what Shidou is going through as well. And when Shidou revises his approach, Kunigami will do it as well. They will both come to realizations they wouldn't have been able to come up with if they weren't playing with each other. If you resonate with my content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm out. Peace.